I'm Joe Lample. When I created Growing a Greener World, I had one goal: to tell stories of everyday people, innovators, entrepreneurs, forward-thinking leaders who are all, in ways both big and small, dedicated to organic gardening and farming, lightening our footprint, conserving vital resources, protecting natural habitats, making a tangible difference for us all. They're real, they're passionate, they're all around us. They're the game changers who are literally growing a greener world and inspiring the rest of us to do the same. Growing a greener world, it's more than a movement, it's our mission. In today's fast-paced world of television and video games, children are spending less time outdoors and more time in front of video screens. Combine that with overconsumption of processed foods and lack of fresh produce in a typical American diet, and it's no surprise that most children lack the understanding of where their food comes from. But recently, that's starting to change as a new trend towards outdoor garden classrooms has been sweeping the country. And we're here at the Edible Schoolyard in Berkeley, California, where it all began. Started back in 1991 as a collaboration between local chef and restaurateur Alice Waters and the principal of the Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School, the Edible Schoolyard had simple goals: to get the children outdoors where they could study core lessons and, in the process, learn about fresh food and nutrition. But as the program took off, this 1-acre garden classroom and its adjoining kitchen classroom have far exceeded anyone's expectations. Marcia Guerrero, the current director at the Edible Schoolyard, has been here almost from the beginning and knows all too well the process it took to create the successful program they have today.
We call the program From Seed to Table because we teach kids about planting in the garden, and they do every single step that it takes to put something into the ground and grow it, care it, tend it, and then they harvest it. Where the real connection happens is where we can really convince them that the food that they are growing is the same thing that they're learning how to prepare in the kitchen, is exactly when we're bringing those freshly harvested vegetables into the kitchen and they're preparing them. Everything that we prepare in the kitchen is grown in the garden, and we teach them about how to prepare and eat. The most important thing is they get to eat it, the food that they grow. And we've learned, it's almost a cliche around here, but we've learned that if they grow it, they care for it, they prepare it, they'll eat it. The Edible Schoolyard was started as a result of a conversation that Alice Waters had with a very young, enthusiastic journalist who ended up printing in the newspaper what Alice said. And essentially what she said was, "I walk by that school every day. I can't believe the condition it's in. And if this is the message that we're sending our children about the value of public education, we're sending the wrong message. We've got a big piece of land up there and we need to put a garden on it." The school principal at that time, Neil Smith, called Alice and said, "I love what you had to say. Please come in, we'll have a conversation, and let's talk about it." And the way that Neil describes the conversation is exactly the way Alice is, in that she is such a visionary. They came up to the top of this hill. Alice said, the garden's going to be here, the greenhouse is going to be there, and the dining commons is going to be there. And 15 years later, we had a dining commons in the exact spot that she pointed. I believe that our program is a model because we've, number one, been doing it for a very long time. And we have a relationship with the school that allows us to fully integrate what we do in the garden and the kitchen into the classroom. We have tremendous buy-in from the teachers. It wouldn't be possible to do this without the teachers at King. And they bring their students to the garden and the kitchen as part of their math, science, and part of their history classes. It's not a drop-off program. The teachers come to the classes with the students. They learn alongside the students. And they fully participate with their students so that what they're learning in the garden and the kitchen, they can take back to the classroom. There are so many reasons that I feel like we have a school garden and people should have school gardens. In a middle school, typically, and that's my experience, children at this age are really into socialization, and they don't necessarily expand outside their little group of comfort. And when they come to the garden and they come to the kitchen, they need to work alongside other students who they wouldn't necessarily hang out with on the playground or go home with after school. They learn that in order to accomplish tasks, they have to work as a team, and they really get to know each other in kind of an intimate way. It also, particularly the garden, has a very calming effect on the students, which is good because students aren't necessarily great at sitting all day in a classroom. And when they get to come out here for an hour and a half once a week and be in the garden and be in nature and work physically, real work, not just pretend work, but do real work, it's very gratifying. We talk a lot about the pleasure of work. We talk to a lot of people across the country, not just in California, who want to start school gardens. And the advice that we have for them is to go slow and deep, because we've been here for 14 years on this site. And we just are learning about our land with plants that are mature. So we say to people think, oh, we have to have a great big piece of land. You know, a garden can be a couple of raised beds. And to do something really well and really thoroughly before you move on to the next step is the advice that we give people. Don't be too ambitious. Don't think it has to be this. There are many things here that people can take back with them that have a piece of land that's a quarter the size of ours. We have an acre. That's almost too much. It's a lot to maintain.
It smells good. What kind of flower is that? Good.
The orange
California poppy.
Yeah. As a California native, you should know.
We talk a lot about hands-on learning, and the example that I like to use is that we teach kids here in the garden how to build soil so they understand all of the composition of the soil. And I think that if you're in a classroom and you're reading about soil composition in a book, or you're out here and you're building soil by yourself, I think the retention level is much higher. We like to say that at the middle school level, where sometimes learning isn't the coolest thing to do, that kids are out here learning in spite of themselves. And that's the kind of thing that we see. Effortless learning, and not that I believe that learning has to be effortless, but I think that here that the children experience something because they're doing it, they're working with their hands, and it's a lifetime experience.
The heart and soul of the Edible Schoolyard is its outdoor garden classroom. It's here that nearly 1,000 students in the King Middle School learn how to grow food and become young stewards of the earth.
What we're doing right now is we're working with the biology of a flower. In the 7th grade, we're connecting to what they're learning about botany, structure, and function in the classroom out here by looking at flowers in the spring garden very closely. So each student is going out into the garden, collecting a flower of their choice, and then bringing it back, drawing it, labeling the different parts that they can identify, and then actually dissecting it, opening it up, finding the teeny tiny ovulae that will become the fertile seeds, and really taking botany to the next level. And it really comes alive for them. And from my own experience in this type of education growing up, I know that this is what really sticks, and these kids will remember it forever. So here in the garden, we grow wheat and barley and oats to demonstrate the different foods that come from ancient cultures that we still grow today. And we grow wheat in the garden not only because it's a great food crop, but also because it holds the soil together in the wintertime.
Yeah.
So it's doing that, it's serving as a cover crop, and it's also growing a food that ancient people as long ago as 10,000 years grew before us.
And then the students really have an opportunity to get their hands involved in here because they actually convert this from what's growing to taking it into the kitchen.
That's exactly right. So they will harvest in not only the planting and the tending of the crop, but also the harvesting and the threshing and the winnowing and the grinding.
So tell me about the grinding process, because I know that the students get in line for that and it's a lot of fun.
That's right. We always grind by hand, and what that means is we either pound it up with a mortar and pestle and a stone grinder, or we use our bicycle grinder, which is probably what you're referring to.
I am.
And this is basically an exercise bike that's been converted to grind grain, and it's attached to a grinder with a belt, and the kids get on and they take turns grinding, and they really don't like to get off. They absolutely love this process.
Hey, that's pretty sneaky. You incorporate physical ed into the whole process too without even telling them.
I often ask the kids if they get more exercise in the garden or on the yard in PE.
Esther Cook is the chef teacher at Edible Schoolyard and was instrumental in setting up the farm-to-table lessons at the school. Students accompany their humanities teacher to the Edible Schoolyard kitchen, where they experience culture, history, language, ecology, and math through the preparation of food. Students cook together with freshly harvested produce from the garden and eat a freshly prepared dish, sharing the fruits of their labor around a communal table. As they cook and eat their way through the school year, the students' understanding of eating local and seasonal foods strengthens and grows.
What to do. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration of how you make the pasta. Okay? Is this 1 cup? No. What do I need to do? Very good. Okay.
All right.
Now the great thing about cooking in the kitchen with these kids is you can see they're really engaged. Making fresh pasta, it teaches them about different types of cultures, different types of cuisines. You're using completely fresh, unadulterated food the way that Mother Nature intended. It's amazing.
What is going on? Chase. The yolk broke.
Well, I wish all of you could be with me right now to smell these amazing scents here. But, you know, Nathan's had the easy job. He's had a chance to really sharpen up his pasta making skills. But I can't complain about what I've been doing lately. I've had a chance to walk around and talk to a lot of the students about what they love with this program. Now, obviously, their favorite part about the program is eating what they make. But, you know, after spending time with them, I've learned that they love so many things about this program, and it was fun to sit down with them to get their reactions to a few of my questions.
I sometimes take a recipe or two home and try it with my family. One thing I love to make is fruit salad.
And like when we go and pick some stuff for kitchen, it's like different stuff. And when it comes from the garden, it really tastes good.
So I'm really into making food.
You really into making food?
Yeah.
Do you love coming to this class and learning new things every day?
It like opens up a whole new world.
So I walked in today and met Esther Cook. I mean, who has a name like Esther Cook except someone teaching kids right here at the Edible classroom, the kitchen. This is what's going on today in America. And it's so fascinating because when I talked to her after the kids were cleaning up and they whipped through making pasta, we started talking about the things that this sort of classroom offers to kids in America today. What it offers is the ability to get out of the classroom and have real, visceral, hands-on experience with life. They learn amazing social structure here because, again, it's a safe place. Food is a universal language. It's like the subtext of life. And then you start thinking, well, whatever happens in Italy, whatever happens in Spain and Greece and South Africa and everywhere else, and today we happen to make pasta, this amazing pasta dish. And then she was like, well, this is the history, but what do you know? And she's asking these kids, and you don't get to leave until you tell me something about Italy. So it's really cool how all these things come together, and really with Miss Cook, thanks for letting us come in your kitchen, and we're glad to be just a little tiny part of that amazing thing that you're putting forth in the world.
A great project to do with kids is to make your own worm bin. And you'd be surprised, you probably have all of the elements readily available at home. Got this storage container here with 2 lids. Got some average kitchen scraps ready to go to feed our worms. Got some shredded up newspaper for their bedding. And also we've got tons of worms. We also have a piece of cardboard that we're going to lay along the bottom and a drill. The first thing we want to do to prepare our storage container is to drill some holes along the bottom. So I've just flipped this over, and very easily I'm just going to go through and put some holes in the bottom. All right, these holes along the bottom are going to allow for drainage. Now what we need to do is we need to drill a few more holes around the sides towards the top of our bin. All right, the holes along the top are just going to allow airflow in our worm bin. Now we want to take a piece of cardboard and we're going to lay that along the bottom of our bin. What that's going to do is it is just going to have a little barrier between the worms and make sure that they don't crawl outside. Then we're going to take this shredded up newspaper and we're just going to lay it in here. You really want to put a lot of newspaper because what we're going to do is we're going to wet it down. All right, the next thing we need to do is we need to give our worms some food. So we've got some kitchen scraps here, some banana peels, some oranges, some coffee grounds, and this is going to feed the worms. You want to make sure that you leave out any dairy or any meat products or any cooked food also. I also am going to add a handful of soil, and that's going to help in the composting process, and it's also going to add some living organisms to our worm bin. Right, and now for the worms. Of course, you can purchase worms, and you want to make sure that if you are purchasing worms that you're getting red wigglers. You don't want to use earthworms. Earthworms are not good for this type of worm bin at all. They're not going to survive. It's really up to you to add however many worms you want. What's going to happen is the worms, every day they're going to eat any of the kitchen scraps, and they're going to consume half of their body weight every 24 hours. So if you put a pound of worms, they're going to be able to consume half a pound of kitchen scraps in a 24-hour period. We're going to pop on the lid, and then we're going to use another cover. That's going to be a basically catch-all. A worm bin is so easy to make. And I bet you have some storage containers in a closet that you don't even know what's in them. Go and get them, reuse them, make your own worm bin, and in about 8 weeks you'll have some worm castings that you can use in your garden.
All right, there's a couple things you want to teach kids. One, how to garden really simple things. These are two of the fastest, most delicious things to have. We have these beautiful radishes, and we also have these gorgeous carrots, but also to keep a clean kitchen, so give them a quick rinse first. Now, with carrots, some kids like them. Luckily, most of them do, but I'm gonna make it so that all kids love them. When you get your fresh carrots out of the ground or at your farmer's market, you wanna remove the greens, just like that. Now, those go with the composter. Now, with carrots, if they're small like this, there's really no need to peel them because they usually wash the dirt right off. If they're larger, you may want to think about peeling them. Now, with these carrots, I'm making a wonderful dish. It's actually going to be a ginger maple syrup glazed carrots, and it is delicious. Really simple. So about medium heat on this saute pan. And now we have a little bit of butter to get the whole thing started. So just a little bit of butter, and that's gonna help with the glaze. All right. And then the carrots. The best thing about getting kids involved, as long as your knives aren't too terribly sharp, is give them a little knife and help them. And let them help you in the kitchen. That gets them more involved and everybody's happier in the end. So we just line them up and give a nice rough chop, just like this. And the carrots, in they go. Now, it wouldn't be a maple syrup ginger glazed carrots without this ginger. The great thing about ginger is when you look at it, you want it to be kind of fat, kind of smooth as well, not very wrinkly, okay? If it's really wrinkly, it'll have a stronger flavor, but it doesn't have as much juice in that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab a spoon, put your thumb, see that? Your thumb, this spoon, just like that, all right? And I'm gonna peel away from myself, and that gets just the outside of the ginger out of your way. If you use a regular vegetable peeler, you actually lose a lot of that juice and a heck of a lot of that fresh ginger you've paid a great deal of money for. But kids, they don't like big chunks of ginger in there. I want it to be this gentle, warm, sweet heat. And that's where this big fat daddy comes into play, all right? This is a microplane, and this is what grates the ginger down into really, really fine pieces, and it also juices it. So we just run it on there just like that. And a microplane is also great for cheeses, for chocolate, anything you want to make really, really small. And for kids, look at that. That's just enough, about a tablespoon worth. When I'm cooking these carrots down, I don't want them to caramelize. I actually want them to cook down and steam a little bit. What do kids like? Well, I still like them, and I'm quite the adult. I love this apple cider, fresh apple cider, and that is so much better than just water, right? We're gonna add about a cup. And the last thing that kids definitely love is pure maple syrup. Pure maple syrup comes from maple trees. I don't know what the imitation stuff is made of, but it doesn't come from a tree. A little salt, kosher salt, and fresh black pepper. And that's really all we have to do for this. We'll just let it cook down. So now we're on to these beautiful radishes. Kids perhaps don't normally like radishes, but this is a really, really simple preparation, and it involves parsley, a little bit of mint, and the secret is white wine vinegar. And we'll just really thinly slice them. Here we go. Delicious. Look at that. Not even watching. So just pop these inside this bowl here. This flat leaf Italian parsley actually has the most flavor, so that's why I only use this flat leaf Italian parsley. And we'll just chop that up, and that adds a little bit of color and definitely that flavor. And kids love fresh mint. Just pick off a few of these leaves. And we'll finally chop that also, okay? So it's perceived sweetness. And in that goes extra virgin olive oil, a little bit of salt and pepper. As I had mentioned, the secret ingredient is white wine vinegar. You don't need a lot, but it really brightens up the flavor. Okay, and that's it. That's a simple afternoon snack, and we'll plate that right up. Here we are. All right, there we are. The first dish is done. All right, now let's see how this beautiful plate of maple glazed carrots can look. It looks amazing. This is perfect, and these kids are gonna love this. This beautiful plate, and a little bit of maple glazed carrots. So every bite has that sweetness from the apple cider. It also has a little bit of zing from that fresh ginger they help you grate, a little bit of fresh salt and pepper, and just the natural sweetness of these beautiful carrots that are so easy to grow. And there we have it. 2 delicious appetizers using the vegetables that your kids help you grow. How much better is that? Your kids will love them, and I bet you will too.
The Edible Schoolyard started as a way for students to learn the connection between food, health, and the environment. And today, the children here not only understand where their food comes from, they grasp the importance of fresh food. For the rest of us, the program here offers many examples of how children can move from the video screens and back towards nature and fresh food. Wow, what a day. If you're a parent or grandparent or just have a heart for children, you'd want them to have the same opportunities that these students have at the Edible Schoolyard and Kitchen. But it doesn't have to be extensive. But any chance that we can help them to get their hands in the dirt usually results in a lifetime of benefits. We have a lot more information on schoolyard gardening on our website at growingagreenerworld.com. I'm Joe Lample. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you back here next time for more Growing a Greener World. Oh.
Franco, are you trying to rhyme?
What a tease. Look at this. Don't you know to share?
Hey, listen, it was really good. It was so good, I just couldn't stop eating.
Thanks for sharing.
Sorry, brother.